Welcome to Conversations with Dr. Skip Mason,
pastor, preacher, historian, author,
teacher, librarian, archivist, world traveler,
collector, family historian, avid reader, and creator of the popular Vanishing Black Atlanta Facebook page.
but a lot of folks who love history.
Most importantly,
he's our
dad who loves his family and who taught us the importance of our history and having important conversations.
Join him now for this episode of Conversations with Dr. Skip.
Well, what in the hell is going on in America? This is Skip Mason, and I just finished watching number 45's press conference in the Rose Garden, where he has all but established martial law in the land. I watched, like many of you, some of the peaceful demonstrators and protesters outside of the White House near Lafayette Square being moved and tear gassed and sprayed on the streets in DC, in the capital of the United States. And then I listened to our president. No, I know I didn't say that. I'm having a momentary lapse of judgment. I listened to number 45 say that he was deploying National Guards and making it available to all of the states. And if the governors and the mayors did not act, that he would deploy U.S. military to move swiftly, as opposed to stepping before this platform for the first time since we lost that young man in the streets of Minneapolis, and providing and showing some compassion and some sympathy for the plight of his family and those who are suffering, those who are tired of the oppressive system that we live in. And I know I'm expecting and asking too much. But instead of him stepping and saying, you know, America, I know you're grieving, some of you, but there is no excuse for some of the lawlessness and laundering that you're doing to you African Americans or Black people, as he likes to say. I feel your compassion. I feel your passion. And instead of trying to offer, even pretending to sympathize with us, he establishes martial law. I'm not surprised, and we shouldn't be surprised. And so we're going to have a conversation today very shortly. I'm waiting for Ambassador Andrew Young to come. He's going to join me shortly to talk about what's going on in our land, which we already know, because the revolution is being televised for all to see. I appreciate you sharing with me. Maybe this is just a break from MSNBC and NBC and all of the news cycles to come and listen to one of our civil rights giants. Now, I understand, because there is a generational divide that seems to think sometimes that those who marched and bled and died for us during the tumultuous 50s and 60s seem to be out of touch. And I refute that, because they opened doors that has allowed us to walk through. And we can learn a lot from them. I understand that these are different times now, but to totally discount those persons, those elders, those wise ones who marched, who strategized, is just simply to say we don't acknowledge our past and we don't care. Because one of the things that I'm seeing, and you may agree or disagree with me, is that with all of the energy going out from these brilliant, bright, young, talented people, people just seem to be out moving in different directions. And so I asked the question, what is the plan? What is the strategy? You know, I mean, other than to protest again. And every cycle we protest. And then you have the infiltration of these anarchists and Antifas and looters and all of these folks, many of whom are white. Let me just call a spade of what it is. Intermingling and mixing with these young people, these activists, these brilliant minds who really are trying to accomplish something. What is the plan? The organizational plan, and part of that is to make sure that the group is not infiltrated with these outsiders. Part of it, in my observation, is to move away from our feelings and emotions and to strategize and to plan. So Ambassador Young will be here soon. And I know that he will share some of his thoughts. He is one of the soldiers of the movement and should be respected for all that he has put in and the time that he has served. And I know that we can gain from him. He's a former ambassador to the United Nations and the former mayor of Atlanta and a former congressman for the United States, one of the great lieutenants of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the soldiers. And they strategized. They had a plan. They had a manifesto. And then on many of the photographs that I'm showing, you can see Ambassador Andrew Young. But let me say to you, and I heard a preacher say this, and I really get it, is that I think the challenge is that this generation, within the last 10 to 15 years, they've not seen a win. They've not seen a victory. And I get it. I honestly get it. Look I saw this. I stole this from somebody's page. Amber, it may have been your page. But look at this. Philando Castile, no conviction. Terrence Crutcher, no conviction. Sandra Bland, no conviction. Eric Garner, no conviction. Michael Brown, no conviction. Raquel Boyd, Sean Bell, Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray, Dan Roy Henry, Oscar Grant, Kedrick Madade, Ayanna Jones, and Trayvon Martin. And the list goes on and on and on. And so I get it. They have not experienced a victory. The movement of the 1960s opened up doors, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. People were able to enter into corporate America. But this generation has not had those kinds of victories. That, on top of being pinned in during COVID-19 for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and many of the ones out are the ones who are out of jobs, unemployed, and that's where that energy is coming from. So I'm hoping that some way, somehow, somewhere, that there will be a strategic plan with some result. We can't count on the president. You can't count on the Republican Congress to do it. That means that you got to vote. And don't discount voting. Voting is important, regardless of what people feel or think. You got to get the right folks in to act. Atlanta, Georgia has an election next June. Many of you live here. You should be going to the polls. And we should be mounting up and getting ready for the November election to get that man out of the White House by any means necessary. And any means voting. That's what it means. And so this is my offerings to you as I filibuster a little, waiting for the ambassador to come up in just a few moments. If you have any comments or that you want to share, listen. Here's the other thing I need to talk about for a minute. This situation with the Atlanta Police Department and these two students, the Morehouse and Spelman student. I know you saw it. If you haven't, you need to see it. And I want to applaud Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and Police Chief Erica Shields for moving swiftly in terminating those policemen and others who were involved in what was just a horrific seen captured live. And I tell you the truth, it was something else to see. But listen, I've talked. I want to bring in to you right now my friend, one whom I honor, my mentor, our former mayor, ambassador, congressman, the ambassador Andrew Young. Ambassador, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
I can't hear it.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now? I know Trish is managing your computer. I can see you.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, Ambassador. I'm so glad. Can you shift over a little so we can see you?
Over
Maybe
this
to,
way.
let's see, your left.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, so we can
Can
see
I?
you good. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
good. I'm so glad to have you on and to see you. And I know that you just finished watching perhaps uh, Trump's statement in the Rose Garden and all that's going on in D.C. But Ambassador, tell me what's going on with you right now. What are you feeling? What are you seeing? Help us through this, please.
Well, I don't see us getting through it easily. I think this was a wonderful demonstration that has been subverted. That the whole world was upset and angry at the death of George Floyd,
Yes, sir.
and it was a lynching, and yet is I'm not being critical. I'm just observing what I see.
Right.
That normally, when you were in college, uh, when I were in college, you'd get killed for doing something like this.
Sure.
Uh, but when you were in college, you'd have to get organized on the campus. You'd have to develop your agenda, uh, what you were marching for, and what you wanted as an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to convince people to join
Yes.
because it was dangerous. It was right now, and this is just the circumstance. I'm not trying to blame anybody, criticize anybody, but everybody was tired of being locked up for the pandemic.
Right.
And this was an excuse to get out. And so everybody got out.
Yes, sir.
And it was really wonderful at first. But there were also some people on the extreme left and the extreme right that came out with them.
Okay.
Um, and they sort of disrupted things.
Okay.
And I'd never heard of these groups before.
Right.
But we knew there would be people. There were people that were always trying to disrupt the marches.
Right.
And that's James Orange and Willie Bolden and J.T. Johnson and you and me too.
Yes.
Were always more concerned about the back of the line than the front of the line.
Right.
Because it was in the back of the line where the violence started and the things broke down.
Yes, sir.
And they did not have marshals, and it came together so easily and with no real training, and they came close. But I'm afraid that we were dealing with officials even in Alabama and Mississippi and Florida
Yes.
that were at least restrained by a concept of law.
Yes.
That does not seem to be the case now.
Okay.
We have much more difficult adversary,
Okay.
and so I hope this doesn't go any further. But what I saw just before I came in was president standing up in front of the Church of the Presidents that's right across the street from the White House,
Yes.
where somebody damaged it last night, set a fire in the basement. This is a church that goes back to 1816,
Right.
and you can't consider that nonviolence. And he was standing up there holding the Bible. You know, that's it's the height of hypocrisy, but it works.
Very much. Yes, sir.
And so I come here kind of disappointed that we did not get the mobilization out of this that Bottoms was looking for and asking for last night. Killer Mike, who, when I was mayor a long time ago, he came to me and said he wanted to have a youth conference. And he was about 14, and we arranged to let them use the convention center.
Okay.
And they had almost 1,000 young people on a Saturday. We gave them a little money, and they didn't want adults talking to them and telling them what to do. They wanted to have their own conference and decide for themselves how they wanted the city to go.
Right.
And it was a wonderful conference, and they did a lot of good things out of that. So this is leadership that we've been building 30 years now. And we have to realize that freedom is a constant struggle.
Okay.
It's not, a one-shot easy victory.
Right.
And this doesn't mean that anybody stops or gives up, but it does mean that we're almost on the verge of losing this round.
Okay.
Now we won the verdict. So, well, we haven't even won the verdict on Brother Floyd's death.
Yes.
But at least there's been an indictment.
Right.
And so that's more than we could expect most times.
So Ambassador, let me ask you a question. In terms of generational divide, when you and Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and others were strategizing and planning, most of you were around the same age. Did some of the
Exactly.
you
know the difference?
What?
You know the difference?
What's the difference?
That when we were going to Birmingham at 29 and 30.
Yes, sir.
There was a possibility that once you crossed the Alabama state line, you would die. In fact, I can remember, if you'll excuse me, one of Bernard Lee.
Yes.
Said, now, y'all going over to Alabama with all of this stuff, you better put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Because somebody's not going to come back.
Right.
And because it was not an easy decision, it was you putting your life on the line just to go into Bull Connors, Birmingham.
Yes, sir.
And start a campaign. You had to think about it. You had to train people. You had to organize. We'd probably been working on it 6 months before we had one march.
Wow.
And I was instructed to, in fact, they just told me, said, you were with the National Council of Churches in New York. Don't they have some good white people that they know down here?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know. He said, well, you find some. Uh, so I finally found the Episcopal bishop.
You found a few
Uh,
good white people, huh?
a few good white people
Yeah.
and started talking to them. But that few good white people led to 100 white people who realized it was in their interest to stop these demonstrations and to agree to desegregate Birmingham.
Right.
And everything that Fred Shuttlesworth and his leadership had come from the community, we got an agreement on in about 3 months.
Okay.
But it took us almost 6 months. In fact, it was probably losing out in Birmingham and Albany that where the federal government worked against us, that got us prepared to say, well, when we go to Birmingham, we'll be ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope nobody gets discouraged. That freedom is not easy; it's a constant struggle. And well, just
So
hope you.
I totally agree, Ambassador. And you have mentored a lot of these young warriors, Killer Mike, T.I. I don't know whether you remember this picture. When I was pastoring at Greater Hopewell over in Mechanicsville, you came to the church. And at that time, T.I. been out on probation. And
Yeah,
part of his assignment was go with you. Do you remember this?
yeah, I do.
Yeah. And and that's my son that you're holding now, that you were holding. He's 17 now. But T.I. had to sit with you. And now, he's standing up with the mayor, and
Yeah,
others, Derek Bozeman and Killer Mike and Bernice King, offering words to comfort the city. I mean, so
and they were all very, very profound, very, very disciplined, very serious. That's good leadership.
yes, excellent. So what do you say,
And
Ambassador? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. You do the interview.
Well, Ambassador, what do you say? I think some people misunderstood your term hoodlum when you were referring to those infiltrators and all. I don't want to correct
No,
that.
that's what it was. I said no. I didn't. I didn't make a mistake.
Right.
The people in the back of the march when Martin Luther King marched in Memphis that disrupted the march, breaking windows and stealing things. Those were not part of the sanitation workers organization. They were not members of the churches.
Yes,
Those
sir.
were hoodlums
Right.
that messed up the march and actually helped to get Dr. King killed.
Yeah.
Because if that he went there thinking that this was going to be a disciplined, organized march
Hmm.
uh, by the trade union, and he went for the sanitation workers, and he expected to go down and march and be back in Washington that night.
Right.
Instead, they were paid off by somebody. They said people gave us money to wreck this march.
Mm.
So, and well, anyway,
So that's been going on. Infiltrators have been
it's
going on
always
forever. That's nothing new.
the French phrase for it, all the way back from the Revolution, American Revolution,
Yes.
agent provocateur,
Provocateur.
the
That's right.
the agents that the people who were paid to slip in
Yes.
and disrupt what you're trying to do
Yes, sir.
and provoke you to do something stupid. And there were people in that march the other night that that damaged a beautiful nonviolent protest
Okay.
that was planned by Black Lives Matter,
Right.
and that had white and black. In fact, the hoodlums were not all black. In fact, most of the Antifa group, I think, turned out to be white.
Right.
And then you got another extreme right group that infiltrates to try to disrupt things. And well,
So, Ambassador, if some of these young leaders came to you and said, "We want to sit with you so we can understand what it is we need to do," and what would you tell them? How would you instruct, advise, and guide them to successful protests and demonstrations to reach an objective or goal? What would you say, Ambassador?
well, I would say this is serious business.
Okay.
And if you're going to prevail, you really just as well commit your life to it, because it's not going to be easy.
Right.
It's a constant struggle. See, and there are no shortcuts. And if you're prepared to do that, I'm prepared to work with you.
Mm-hmm. You are obviously close to Mayor Bottoms, and tell me about her leadership during this time, this crisis in our city right now.
Yeah. Well, I met Mayor Bottoms at the YMCA when she was training to do a triathlon.
Mm.
And there were a group of young women who decided that they were mothers, professional women, about 25 or 30 of them,
Yes.
that were training to do a marathon. And I was really impressed with that. And so I was a swimmer in college, and I tried to tell her, give her a few pointers that she wasn't kicking hard enough.
That's
But
some good advice.
I did. No, that the marathon that they were going to do, they were going to have to swim either a quarter mile or half a mile, which is not easy.
Right.
In open water, and you can't take too fast strokes.
Okay.
You have to have a glide, and you have to pace yourself, because then they had to ride a bicycle for 25 miles and then run a 10-kilometer.
Right.
So this is more than I ever thought I could do. I never tried to do that. I could do any one of the things. Do all three of them together was too much for me. So I really was admiring of these young professional women who were still trying to be mothers and athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew she had a lot of guts, and I knew she was physically fit.
Right.
I didn't know if she was. I didn't see then the brains that you see now. She's handling. She's been doing a very good job for Vice President Joe Biden's campaign from the very beginning.
Right. Takes a lot of courage to be mayor of a city like Atlanta, right?
No, I think it's you catch hell once you get to be there, but it's really one of the best jobs in the world if you do it right and if you're lucky.
And if you're lucky.
Well, I had to build on. I mean, I was building on what Maynard Jackson, but even before him, Ivan Allen
Mm-hmm.
and Sam Massell,
Yes, sir.
and they had laid out all kinds of plans, and so it was easy for me because I just stayed in the line and I didn't change anything Maynard was doing. I just tried to push it a little further.
Right.
And I think some of our mayors have felt like they have to, you know, take over and
Sure.
make it their own show.
And do more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How's your family doing? Mrs. Carolyn Young and your daughters and all, and Bo, how all of them
Well,
doing?
everybody's doing well. Golly, I haven't seen that picture. You have to send me that.
I will. I'll text it to you.
Yeah. That's that was at the Poor People's Campaign, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Look like you got all three of your daughters there. Mm-hmm.
1968, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Lisa and Paula and Andrea and my first wife, Jean, who died of cancer.
Yeah. And then here's Bo standing. I think that's Bo standing behind Mrs. Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, top of
and
his
my
head.
sister-in-law, Sonia.
Sonia. Mm-hmm.
And my wife. And
yeah.
You got a better collection of pictures than I have.
Oh, Ambassador, you know you got some you got some great images.
I mean, I really haven't collected them, but I'm serious. I really wish. In fact, I wish you could make me 5 of those pictures.
I'll do that.
That one with the whole family, because I'd like to. I'll make sure.
I'll make sure.
And Bo will get mad because he didn't exist yet.
Well, you know, he came along a few years later. You know, so you know, let me put this one back up. Because you know, I think there's a history lesson that our young people need to know, and they need to know. They got to know. You know, they got warrior blood in them. But I'm just convinced that if you don't acknowledge those who came before you, you're liable to you know just not.
It's not a matter of acknowledging.
Okay, what is it?
It's a matter of understanding the mistakes we made.
Okay.
And the things that we learned, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes we made.
Okay. Yeah. I get that, but I think they still need to know, you know, and have some continuity and some sense of history. Just 1 or 2 more things, and then I'm watching my time. You know, Trisha gave me my marching orders, and so I just got a couple of more things. First of all, you look good. You're feeling well, and have you had the coronavirus test? Have you been tested?
I have, and I don't have any trace of it.
Okay, wonderful.
I had antibody tests.
Okay.
Which takes a little of your blood.
Right.
And if you've had it before, it shows up, or if you got it now, it shows up.
Okay.
And I've not had it, but I've always taken my vitamins.
Okay.
That 1,000 units of vitamin C.
Okay.
Vitamin D. Zinc. Selenium is very important. It's
I heard about that selenium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but it's one of the proteins that helps to block. You see, the coronavirus is related to AIDS, HIV. It's related to Ebola. It's related to influenza, and all of these. And that's why you got to keep strong, because the viruses change.
Right.
They're living. They're not like a table or a desk. They're living organisms.
Okay.
And if you do something to block them over here, they're going to go over there and So even if we do have a vaccine, and I hope we get one soon, but by the time we get a vaccine, the virus that hit us last January
Right.
will have changed itself into something else. But
Mm,
one of the elements in your blood
okay.
makes it difficult for them to change is selenium.
Selenium.
And selenium and is cheap.
Okay.
We sent when the Ebola crisis hit Liberia.
Okay.
Alex Cummings, Coca-Cola, was on his way there, and
That's
somebody
right.
told me that if we could get them some selenium, it would really help curtail the Ebola controversy.
Sure.
And to our surprise, we went to Walmart, and they only had 1,000 bottles. But 1,000 bottles then was $5 a bottle. So
Okay.
$5,000, we sent 1,000 bottles of selenium with 90 tablets in each bottle,
Wow.
and we tested out amongst poor people who were not getting any other attention.
Mm-hmm.
And Liberia has a kind of its own class segregation between the American Liberians and the
And the
Native
librarians, those who were born there, right? Yeah.
who
Mm-hmm.
and who never came to America.
That's right.
And so it was, but the people who were not getting supposedly, quote, good American medical attention had a 68% survival rate.
Okay.
These were people who had the Ebola virus and started taking selenium. 68% of them survived.
Yeah.
Of those who were doing the traditional World Health Organization
Mm-hmm.
protocol, they had a 44% survival.
Wow.
And they were getting all the best medicine that the United States could share. Now, that's not that I'm against medicine,
Right.
United States medicine. I'm just saying the only medicine is not just the high-priced pharmaceutical patented medicine.
Mm-hmm.
See, selenium is so cheap, nobody makes any money by testing it.
Okay.
And it costs a lot of money to test these drugs to make sure they're safe.
That's right.
But so there's something that some things that our ancestors have done, and we still
Natural.
we eat okra,
Okay.
we eat garlic.
Yes.
My grandmama never cooked without bay leaf.
Bay leaves.
Bay leaf.
Yeah.
I mean, she just never made gumbo, never made cooked greens, and never cooked red beans.
My
without
mama
putting a
always
whole
put
bunch of-
bay leaves in the spaghetti. I can see those bay
yeah,
leaves now. Mm-hmm.
but all of those had some medicinal benefit
Right.
that they never discussed. We thought it was for flavoring. Coming from New Orleans, that's the reason we probably use a lot of pepper.
Yeah, and hot.
That hot sauce is a good source of cayenne pepper is a good source of vitamin A.
Yes, it is. It's good. It's good. Ambassador, you've been doing a lot of preaching lately. You've gone back to the pulpit?
No, I was helping my preacher out at First Congregational Church
Dr.
because
Andrew.
every third Sunday we have a jazz, we have gospel, some classical music Sunday, but third Sunday is Jazz Sunday, and the pastor is a jazz musician. And he said, if you would preach on the third Sunday, it would let me be free to work on the music.
Oh, okay.
But we haven't gone back to church yet.
Okay.
There's nobody in the church. We had 3 choir members read out on one side of the chancel, and then we had three jazz musicians on the other side.
Yeah.
And so you only walk up and to the pulpit, and you're not in contact with anybody.
Yeah.
We don't shake hands.
I see you all
We,
space.
I sort of do like the Hindus now, and kind of bow.
Yeah.
I respect the divinity in you, and I humble myself before the presence of God in you.
Yeah.
And that's better than bumping fists to shaking hands,
It is.
especially now.
I love it. Ambassador, I got one question, and then we're gonna let you go. You've been so generous with your time. Crystal Ammon said, Ambassador, would you do anything differently if you were mayor today? And better yet, what would you advise the one that we have, Mayor Bottoms? Would you do anything differently today?
Anything different than she's doing?
I think that's what she's asking, maybe. Having served as mayor, now you've been out. Is there something you wish you could have done while you were mayor, and you did so much?
Oh no, but there's a lot I wish I could have done.
Really?
But oh yeah, we've just begun to scratch the surface in this town.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd have a better school system now if we had continued to do what we were doing. And see, even though the mayor doesn't have anything to do with the school system, my first wife and my present wife were both school teachers.
Right.
And then all of my children were in public schools in Atlanta.
Right.
And like I remember one year we had more students go to MIT on scholarships from Mays and Douglas than any other city in outside of Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
We had seven Atlanta students from Atlanta public schools get scholarships to MIT. We got 15 scholarships from all over the city for Notre Dame, because I could pick up the phone and call the president. In fact, any college that I'd spoken to and when I was speaking in the movement days,
right,
anywhere I had been, or I'd received a whole lot of honorary degrees.
And that's most of the HBCUs. You've spoken just about it all. Yeah.
But the HBCUs didn't have the money. See? Right. And
I'm sorry, you still on? Uh-oh. Did we lose you? Okay, here we go.
No,
hang tight, Ambassador. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, there we go.
I hope you can hear me. I said, if you don't mind, hard work, cold weather, and white folks, I can get you an education. And it was something like $70,000 a year to go there.
Right.
But that was James Orange's daughter. And I called the president and I said, we've got a smart young woman here.
Okay.
Who has everything but winter clothes and money to go to school.
Right.
And I said, we can get the winter clothes if you will give her a scholarship. And she had 4 years free.
Oh, wow.
Including a trip to Europe for a summer program. And it is, well, Shirley Franklin did the same sort of thing.
Okay.
In terms of making sure that every one of our high school seniors had an opportunity to get an education, whether they had a higher education. But still, one of the best educations you can get anywhere in the world is Atlanta Technical College.
Yes.
And Atlanta College. And Atlanta Technical College, 95% 8% of the people that go there come out not only with a certificate, but with a job.
Right. That's true.
Mhm.
That is so true. Ambassador, are you working on any projects? You've done documentaries and books. Are you working on anything now?
Well, we're working on really three things.
Okay.
One is I turned 88 this year.
88.
So when somebody asked me what was my bucket list,
Uh-huh.
I said I better sort of straighten up with the things that Jesus is liable to ask me at the judgment. And so we started talking about feeding the hungry.
Yeah.
Well, we're running short of water in the world, and so we're not going to be able to grow food like we're growing it now, 10, 20 years from now. And so we're not
Okay.
going to be able to grow the same kinds of crops. So um, we have been experimenting with aquaponics, growing food and
Okay.
fish together.
What is
And
aquaponics, Ambassador? What is that?
well, you grow the food in the water and recycle it. See, so
Oh.
and it grows faster than it grows in the dirt,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to put as much fertilizer in it because what the fish eat, you recycle to put them back in the water.
Right.
And also we've been working on. We found a plant called duckweed,
Duckweed.
and it
Okay.
grows all over the world, but
Okay.
and all over in any little still water swamp, you got duckweed growing, and it's a little bitty green plant that grows in swamp, mostly swamp waters around the world. Well, we've been trying to grow that commercially, and we spend a lot of time and money out in California running experiments, and now we're trying to do it here in Georgia,
Oh, wow.
down down a little below Macon.
Okay. I was not familiar with
No, but it's aquaponics and lemna protein
Okay.
or duckweed um, is the richest protein um, that any vegetable produces.
Mm-hmm.
I think that may have been what Moses found and called it manna from heaven.
Manna. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it in the Far East, they will take it right out of the water and boil it
Mm-hmm.
and spice it up and use it as a soup.
That's
We
amazing.
refine it, and we get a 45 to 55% protein.
Okay.
And where
So, Ambassador, a number of people are asking for you to repeat the vitamins and minerals that you take. You mentioned selenium. Would you repeat those again, please? I'm getting a lot of requests.
Selenium and vitamin D3.
Vitamin D3.
Vitamin D.
Okay.
C.
All right.
And you can take up to 1,000 units of C.
Okay.
And zinc and selenium are the trace minerals that just help keep your immune system strong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if we didn't have this virus,
right,
we're gonna have a flu season.
Yeah.
Now, I get my flu shots, but I also take these vitamins because these vitamins help keep my immune system strong. And
sure,
knock on wood, I haven't had the flu in a long time.
Wow.
And
you take your flu shot
almost every year.
Almost. Okay.
I missed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But I do take them, and but I I traveled all over Africa
I know.
and only got malaria once,
Wow.
and I was prepared for it, and they knocked it out in 3 days.
In 3 days.
Normally, malaria,
Uh-oh. Well, we'll bring you back up in just a second. But we so appreciate this knowledge that Ambassador is dropping and sharing. There you go. All right. So, ambassadors, if someone wanted to get involved with climate change, what organization would you recommend? This is the last question.
you
Someone
know, I haven't worked. No, but I would call Reverend Durley.
Gerald Durley,
Reverend
right?
Gerald Durley has been very active in climate change
Yes, he has.
with Ted Turner's daughter
Yeah,
for almost 20 years now.
yeah,
I mean, he's been on it a long time, and but almost anything you do is, um, we're going to have to deal with climate change.
sure.
Uh,
Climate change
and
and global world hunger, because that sounds like what that
yeah,
duckweed is supposed to address.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
World hunger.
World hunger. Yeah.
And then I'm from Louisiana originally,
Right.
and they fixed up the Mississippi River under Franklin Roosevelt in 1932.
Okay.
Well, that was the year I was born. And the recent repairs that they made around New Orleans were done in 36 and 38. And I remember seeing the CCC camps
Yeah.
as a boy,
Okay.
working on the river. And then when I was growing up, everybody had read Huckleberry Finn, and everybody was singing Old Man River.
Oh yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
Paul Robeson and Paul Warfield were both famous for singing Old Man River.
Old Man River.
Just keeps rolling along. And so I developed a love for that river.
Okay.
But it's about to overflow its banks.
Oh wow.
And 2 years ago, the flood damage along the river was $384 billion. And I don't know how many people were killed. But the river right now is ready to overflow.
Okay.
And so if we have, if we could head this off, it's going to take another 10, 15 years to bring the river up to repair it, since we've neglected it for 75.
Yeah.
And but there's 95 cities along the river.
Okay.
Between New Orleans and Minneapolis. In fact, I'm working with the mayor of Minneapolis, and he's a fine young man, and I think he's handled this case, very well.
I think so.
But when you've seen the floods up above Detroit, where the water melting from the north, it just broke the dam.
Yeah.
And there was tremendous flood damage there. And that could happen in any one of these 95 cities. And so we've been trying to get people to prepare now.
Wow, that's something.
It turned out that we've been able, and that's the other thing, that the things that we've done here in Atlanta, it didn't cost the taxpayers any money to build the airport.
Okay.
It didn't cost the taxpayers any money to bring the Olympics here. See, it didn't cost any taxpayer money to build the Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Right.
And all of those things were done with creative financing.
Mm.
Now, the one thing the virus has done is it's going to be very difficult for us to keep that up. But when I started, it was after Katrina. That was 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to President Bush to try to get him to get serious about the river and
Right.
don't let it flood again like Katrina. Katrina wasn't an act of God so much as it was a mistake
Man. Yeah.
of engineers.
Mm.
And it, well,
Well, I hear you. Your foundation's doing well,
no, we're getting by.
getting by. Yeah.
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 And we don't have but about 6 people on the staff.
Okay.
A lot of people volunteer
Yeah.
for special projects.
But you're still doing a lot of good work there, I'm sure.
Well, we trying,
Yeah.
and we help other people also.
Right.
Mm.
Well, Ambassador, you have always been our voice for peace and calm. I remember when the bombing happened at the park during the Olympics and other occasions where you have been called on to bring peace and hope. And I would just ask, as we get ready to close out, that you would just offer in your own way and share anything you want to say to the people that are watching and will be watching, just to help us to regain our hope and peace in this broken world that we're living and all of the folks that are experiencing. Would you just close us out with whatever you want to say to help us, please?
Well, I I can't sing, but I remember my songs better than I remember my prayers.
Okay.
And my wife goes around singing all the time. Oh Lord, I want you to help me. Oh Lord, I want you to help me. Help me with my burden. Help me on my way. Oh Lord, I want you to help us.
Mm, mm. Ambassador Andrew Young, God bless you. And thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I'm not going to put you on the
Let me
spot.
ask you one thing.
Yes, please,
Let me
Ambassador.
ask you one,
Yes, sir.
two things.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Have you heard Otis Moss III sermon on the young man job? Lynch, yeah,
I saw that thing.
yeah,
I got chills, Ambassador.
I know. And the
Incredible.
other is Oakwood Alumni Choir
Mm-hmm.
singing "We Shall Overcome."
Now I need to find that.
Look, find that one, and they still those good old songs and good preaching is still the best we can do to deal with the problems of our lives.
That's so true.
So God bless you,
God bless you
and
too,
keep
Ambassador.
on keeping on.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you so much. And Sister Tricia, God bless you and thank you as well. We've heard from Ambassador Andrew Young, and we thank God for his time, his life, his legacy, and for sharing with us. And as he said, oh Lord, help us to hold on. We got to call on the Lord during these troubled times. We need foot soldiers and we need warriors, but we need prayer warriors as well. And so those who know the power of prayer need to pray and cover our children, young adults, those in the street, because God can move in mighty ways. And so I thank you for tuning in and for sharing with conversations with me. And I look forward to seeing you the next time when we'll have our next guest, whoever that might be, as we continue to have wonderful and important conversations about the things that are going on in this world. God bless you. May God keep you in God's care. This is Skip Mason.